Hey, it's Ryan Meeks with the Escape to Arizona YouTube channel, and this is take 20. So I want to tell you guys about 20 different things that I've learned upon moving here to Arizona. I've been here for about 3 years, and I moved here from Chicago. And this can also apply to if you're pretty much thinking about moving here from any other states. So definitely going to go through some things that may apply to you even if you're not from Chicago. And stick around for the last one because you're definitely going to want to hear about that. So hey, thanks once again for tuning in. If you haven't seen my videos, check out my channel, go through it in detail. There's a lot of neighborhood walkthroughs if you are thinking of making the move here. And be sure to subscribe, that helps me get the message out. And if you know somebody that's thinking of moving here, introduce them to this channel and tell them they can give me a call or shoot me a text. My phone number is below. And also we have a relocation packet right there in the first comment. So feel free to grab that relocation packet. And today what we're going to talk about are 20 things that I've learned upon my 3 years of living here. And I've absolutely loved it. I moved here from Chicago, and I just kind of knew the was going to hit the fan, for lack of a better term, pardon my French, but it has, and we're definitely in a weird situation, and I know a lot of people are looking to escape, and hopefully you all do what's best for your family. And yeah, let me just go over these 20 things that I've learned upon moving here, and some of them are good and some of them aren't, so let's talk about it. So what I'm going to talk about pertains to just the valley. The valley has the most population density in all of Arizona, and that's where I'm located. So if you live in another part of Arizona, I don't know if this is going to apply, or if you're looking to move to another part of Arizona. So one thing I've noticed is that there's not a whole lot of police officers. That's right, and this has to do with driving, when you're driving down the street. Back in Chicago, you had speed traps, you had pretty much what seemed like police everywhere. And in Arizona, it just seems like there's not a whole lot of police pulling people over and, giving people tickets. So that's kind of nice. On the flip side to that is that people tend to speed. They do like 20 over. If you're in a 45-mile-an-hour zone, people are probably doing 55, 60, and most of the streets here are 45 miles an hour. So unless you're in a subdivision or you're on an expressway, the expressways are 65, and you typically have people doing like 85, 90. One thing that you will notice since people are speeding is there's a lot more crashes here, and I think that has to do with the amount of speeding, and the fact that the texting and driving law, holding a mobile phone and driving law, doesn't go into effect until January 1st of 2021. And it was passed back in 2019, April of 2019, but for some reason the law still isn't into effect, so it is still legal to drive with your phone. However, some cities have their own law where it's illegal to text, and sometimes you'll see billboards, but Maricopa County, it does not go into effect till January 1st of 2021. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Also, in Chicago, I know everybody loves those red light cameras, and there's a whole thing going down with, Jeffrey Tobalski on that. But yeah, red light cameras, I really feel like, believe it or not, they did help, because you see a lot of rear end collisions here. You see a lot of people who are running red lights. And I don't miss the tickets, don't get me wrong. I used to get maybe 1 or 2 a year, but I think that they definitely helped people, stop at red lights. You'll also notice here insurance is slightly higher because of all the crashes. So that's a bummer. Number 2 is the location of the expressways. When you get off the expressways, there are no bad areas here. So driving through Phoenix, I have not really seen a bad area. I'm sure some people might comment and say, yeah, there's some shady areas of Phoenix, but getting off in the wrong spot in 290, definitely, I think everybody's been there. You just kind of fear for your life and try to get back on the expressway. Let's be real, right? So here in Phoenix, and specifically Southeast Valley, you can drive around the expressways, get off, and you don't feel like you're in danger. So number 3, sticking with the whole vehicle traveling thing, is that the expressways are pretty clean. So specifically in the Southeast Valley, they are very clean. You may see some debris on them occasionally, but for the most part, that gets picked up in a day or two. I know in California, the expressways there are just a mess, and most Californians, when they come here, are like, whoa, the expressways are so clean, it's just so clean here. So, you know, we do a real nice job of not littering and trashing where we live. So number 4, there are not a whole lot of potholes here. So obviously we're not using salt in the winter and destroying the streets. And I remember seeing news stories back in the day on how some of the contractors that they hired for the road construction would actually, you know, they wouldn't do a 100% job. They would kind of leave it so that it had to be fixed in a year or two. And, you know, I honestly believe that's probably still going on with the amount of corruption there in Chicago and Illinois in general. So here in Arizona, you don't really have bad streets. You do have a little bit of road construction, and I don't know why they're doing road construction on some of these streets because they seem perfectly fine. So when you're driving around here, you pretty much won't see any potholes. You'll see maybe 2 in a week. Sticking with the whole topic of traffic, vehicle registration, let's talk about that. So if you purchase a new vehicle that's a 2020 model and it's $30,000, you're gonna pay roughly $504 here in Arizona to register that vehicle. And it's gonna take about 7 years for that vehicle to come down to about $150 per year to register. So it's based on the age of the vehicle and then what you purchased it for. So if you're buying something that's $60,000, there's actually a website, I'll have it right here. You can calculate what the, you know, what you're gonna be paying every year in registration. So that's kind of a bummer. So number 6, one thing I noticed about moving here, we do have kind of like a bluish gray vehicle, and it's a minivan, don't mean to brag, but you don't wanna have a dark vehicle here. My advice, get a white vehicle, get something that's not gonna, you know, have the sun rays beating down on it and cause it to become hotter. Get a light colored vehicle and you'll love life a little bit more here. So one thing that sucks is that summer is hot. There's really no getting around it. You know, they ask how bad it is. It's pretty bad. It's pretty much like Chicago's winter, but it only lasts through like mid-June, I would say, to like end of September. So you have a shorter time frame where you're kind of stuck inside. But what everybody says here, you know, you're going from your air conditioning house to your air conditioned vehicle to your air conditioned work. So yeah, you do have to be outside for that short period of time, and you can swim. So really the only thing to do in the summer is to swim. A lot of the restaurants do have like the misting system, so you can still have that outdoor seating, and it does drop the temperature about 10 to 15 degrees when you have that misting system. So you can definitely still enjoy the outdoors. Just go out a little bit later. Usually you're gonna wanna go out about 7 o'clock at night, get your run in, or you know, in the morning around 5, 6 a.m. all the way to about 8 a.m. I've noticed that it's been okay. So those are the times that you're gonna wanna do something active outdoors, and the rest of the time, you know, go outside at your own risk and definitely stay in the shade. If you stay in the shade, it's not as bad as the humidity in Chicago. You should be fine. But once it gets over 110, and we have had 34 days over 110 this summer, so it's been a little rough. I think we broke some records here in Arizona. But if you're in the shade, you're in pretty good hands. If it's like 105 to 110, stay in the shade. So one thing that's pretty cool is that there are no taxes on groceries here, and the sales tax rate is significantly less than Chicago. I think Chicago is probably the most expensive in the country, so nothing too much to brag about, but not having taxes on groceries here really helps, and you can put that money in your pocket or put it to buy more groceries. And also the property tax here is a lot lower, and you know, that really helps in the long run. So the way to calculate the property tax here in Maricopa County, typically I take the purchase price and then I multiply that by 0.0068, and then that's going to give you your yearly property tax, and then divide it by 12, and that'll give you your monthly property tax. So property tax here is pretty sweet, and definitely a lot less than a lot of places. So at number 9, let's talk about food. Here in Arizona, there are a lot of transplants. So the cool thing about living in Arizona is that we have 2 really good pizza places that I've discovered. And the first one is Salerno's. And Salerno's has locations back in Berwyn, Hodgkins. I think there's one even out in the western suburbs. So Salerno's was one of our favorites back home, and Salerno's is here as well. There are some really crappy Chicago wannabe pizza places, and I don't know if these people are really from Chicago. They claim to be, but we ate at one place and it was like a tombstone pizza. It was really terrible. There's also New York Pizza Department, and that place apparently imports the water from New York, so it's got the flavor of New York water, if that makes a difference, but those are for the New Yorkers. And that pizza's okay, but Salerno's is definitely better. And another really good pizza place is called Buddy's. That's Buddyz, and they're actually located in McHenry, and I believe there's one in Algonquin. So that is here in Gilbert. There's one in Ahwatukee. There's one in Santan Valley and one in Queen Creek. So they're doing very well. They've already opened multiple locations, and their branding spot on, and the pizza, it really tastes good. Go for the butter crust. That's my favorite. So here in Arizona, there's plenty of places to get Mexican food. We're right by the border, so your Mexican food is going to be spot on here. Chinese food is a little tougher to find, so there's a few places that have opened around us, and it's pretty much inedible. So Chinese places, definitely not as good as Chicago. I mean, we have Chinatown in Chicago, right? So few of those people have moved down to the suburbs. Here, not so much. So there's very few Chinese restaurants, and in my opinion, they're not very good. So it's gonna be a little tougher to find your Chinese joint, but they're out there, you just have to search. So what they say when you move to Arizona is that you can't shovel sunshine. However, there's a lot of landscaping to do, so it's kind of a bummer. With our yard, we have a really big lot. We have a ton of trees on there. They're all watered through our drip system. I think there's about 30 trees on our property, and so you have to keep those trimmed because they grow like weeds. They don't need a ton of water, but they grow quite a bit. A few of the trees here, Palo Verdes, just grow at a really rapid rate, and you have to always clip those or have a landscaper do it. Mesquite trees grow very quickly, and you need to have those trimmed, otherwise they'll fall over in a monsoon. So you definitely have to have the larger trees here trimmed. And if you have grass in your front yard, it's just a lot more upkeep. And one thing that you'll want to get as soon as you move down here is a blower to blow off all the dust and a lot of the leaves that fall off the trees. It seems like it's fall for some, species of plant here at all times, because there's always leaves on the ground, and it always seems like there's a tree losing its leaves, but it's just, a random time of the year. At number 11, get used to Haboobs. That's right, Haboobs. So these are giant dust storms that you can kind of see. We've been hanging out at the pool, and that's when we'll notice them the most. I don't know why they probably just wait for me to go to the pool with my family and then decide that they're gonna show up. So it's basically a big dust storm. You can see it in the horizon, and it's usually brown, so you notice that the sky's kind of discolored, and it may take you a few glances to look at it and realize that, hey, that's an incoming dust storm. So it's just really windy and a lot of dust blowing around, and I guess you can get valley fever from it, which from what I hear is like cow droppings in the wind and the dust, and you're inhaling that, and it leads to valley fever. So look that up. Doesn't sound like it's something fun to get, and yeah, just be aware of them. Haven't had any issues with them here. What really stinks is when one of the dust storms hits and it's an actual monsoon at the same time, and you're driving on the expressway. I've experienced that, and it's just crazy. You just kind of pull over like, whoa, this is pretty intense. So yeah, look forward to those. At number 12, what you should know when you move here is that saguaro is not pronounced saguaro. So that is the type of cactus that you see. It's the famous cactus here in Arizona. It's S-A-G-U-A-R-O, but it's pronounced saguaro. So there's Saguaro Lake, and there are saguaro cactuses. One of the things that you'll notice here, and at number 13, is there are a lot of gyms. And by gyms, I mean places to work out. Within a 2-mile radius, I'd say there's at least 10 places to work out, a 2-mile radius of where I live. So there are regular gyms like LA Fitness, there's one called Desert Fitness, there's Mountainside. There's a lot of different styles of gyms. There's CrossFit gyms as well. So you're definitely gonna be able to find something that suits whatever style of workout that you want to do. And one thing you will notice here is that people, and this kind of goes into the same topic, people are very fit here, people are very into fitness, people are very into working out, which probably explains why there's 10 different gyms within a 2-mile radius of my house here. So you'll notice people outside biking, exercising, jogging. There's just a lot of people, a lot of active lifestyles here. So, and the gyms here, I guess, kind of complement that. At number 14, you'll notice that everyone is from somewhere else. Very rarely do you actually meet somebody that grew up here, and when you do meet them, you're like, oh wow, you're still here. That's kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, you're not going to be the only one that's moving here, and you know, before you know it, you'll no longer be the new person. It'll be somebody else down the block. At number 15, I've noticed that there are a lot more young families here. The demographic is a lot younger than where I grew up, and that's in Brookfield. So when you go to the grocery stores, you'll see that there's just kind of kids running around, people younger than you with more kids than you, and you're like, what the heck is going on here? It's yeah, a lot of kids here. There are areas where it's 55 up here, so maybe, you know, a lot of the retirees are just moving to those 55 and up areas, and those are pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of amenities and you know, fun things for the residents at all these 55 plus communities. In my hometown, one thing I did notice is that every time I went to the grocery store, it kind of felt like I was going to a retirement home. Sorry, Tischlers. At number 16, there are a lot of churches here, and there's not really like your old school Catholic churches that I found, but there are mega churches, and these are non-denominational Christian churches. There's one in Orland Park I know of, there's one in Oak Brook, but yeah, here there's I think like 4 in Gilbert that you can go to. So there's definitely you know, a lot to choose from, and there's a lot of people I know that attend those style of churches. So it's kind of those non-denominational mega churches where there's usually like a band up there playing, and a little more interactive, a little more fun than your old school Catholic church. Sorry, Jesus. At number 17, you'll notice that the Mormon population is very high here. So yeah, a lot of Mormons, a lot of LDS communities. They actually have one of their main churches here on Pecos and Greenfield. Great people, you know, definitely. We love a lot of our neighbors are Mormon. We love them all. They're just great people to be around, and no complaints there, but something that you'll notice. At number 18, you'll notice that everyone is a lot happier here. So there's not a whole lot of road rage, and it's kind of funny. You could be staring at your phone, because it's still not illegal yet here, right? So you missed that the lights turned green, and you'll know, like, nobody will honk at you. It's kind of crazy, and then you're like, oh, I gotta go, and then you know, obviously you speed through the light. But yeah, there's not a lot of road rage as there is in Chicago. I mean, in Chicago, it's like everybody's honking, yelling at each other, swearing. So I think people here are just a lot happier, and I think a lot of it has to do with the weather. And I mean, we can go through that list again. And one thing you'll notice here is that Arizona is an open carry state, so that means that people will have guns, and it's pretty easy to go purchase a gun. If you want to just go to Walmart and buy a gun, you can just go there and buy a gun. You don't have to go through any 8-week courses or anything like that. So kind of cool if you're into guns. And as far as like people carrying them on their hips, I think that's kind of a you know, a misconception about the residents here. There's really, you know, I've seen in 3 years, I've seen 2 people with the guns on their hips. One was in Sedona. I think he was a legit cowboy. And then I just actually saw a dude a few days ago at the gas station who just had one just right on his hip there. And I actually felt a little bit safer, I'll be honest with you. The guy looked normal, and, you know, was just had a gun on his hip. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. You know, God forbid some criminal comes in and has a gun and does something, you have people there to protect you. So, you know, as long as those people with the guns are obviously of sound mind, then, you know, you're gonna feel more protected. And number 20, coming from a Democratic state, and I could get into some politics here if you want, but I'm not going to. So, coming from a Democratic state to Republican, with the issues of systemic racism that, you know, everybody seems to think we have in the US. Nice thing about Arizona is if you're not happy with the school your child is going to, you have the right to access any school that you want your child to go to, as long as it's not a private school. There are a lot of public schools, there's some charter schools here, there's all different types of learning. I think the education system here is pretty legit compared to Illinois. I think it's definitely up to par with it, especially in the charter schools. Some of these charter schools are very rigorous, and they're a few years ahead of even the public schools. So if you want more of a strenuous curriculum for your child, you can definitely get them into a charter school like Benjamin Franklin, for instance, and they'll have a head start over other kids when applying to college. Hey, thanks for watching.
For more videos on escaping to Arizona, just click that subscribe button to stay in the loop.